Can you give us some idea about what is happening in US politics and what chances there are the US playing the kind of crucial leadership role that's needed?
First, the U.S. is in a structural crisis, and it's an ongoing structural crisis. Our society is more unequal, more divided, more wealth at the top, more poverty at the bottom than we've had in decades. Nothing is being done to address the structural problems. The U.S. is not leading right now. There is no shared leadership. Europe certainly isn't leading because it's so enmeshed in its own survival right now. China, India, other major powers are saying, not us, not our time, we're still developing, don't count on us. And so we're really in another of those phases in the world where there is a startling decline of the U.S. role before our eyes. It's shocking for me to watch summit after summit internationally where the U.S. plays almost no role anymore. Money has driven American politics to the right. We have one far-right party, which is the Republican Party, and we have one center-right party, which is the Democratic Party. We don't even have a center party, much less a center-left party. And the whole political spectrum is open. You would think that a political entrepreneur could come in, but the fact of the matter is we have a two-party duopoly. Money drives the process. There is no competition. And the American people are not represented right now.
You've brought out a new book in which you put ethics in the title, and many people would say that's been part of our problem, that for several decades economics and economists have not been prepared to incorporate ethics into their work.
I talk about civic virtue in my book, and I say that the main loss of civic virtue is not of the American people, who remain pragmatic, moderate, decent. The book is really directed towards the elites in America who have lost it. I watch that process in academia as I watch colleagues gravitate towards Wall Street as if making money was the end point for them of what academic responsibility was. Of course, among our politicians, not only are they in it for gaining campaign financing, the level of insider trading in Congress is itself scandalous.
Can I just ask you to sort of look back over your career? Over the course of that 30, 40 years, what's happened to public life?
Markets were important, but so too was government as a fundamental provider of public goods like infrastructure and education, of fairness to make sure that the poor didn't suffer and that there was a respect for everybody's basic needs, and of environmental protection and sustainability. The decisive change can be marked to January 20th, 1981. Ronald Reagan became president that day. He said in his first inaugural address, "Government is not the solution to our problems. Government is the problem." Of course, his counterpart in the UK was Margaret Thatcher, same philosophy. Let's take down government. This is not playing a constructive role. We'll let the private economy do all of these things. I think that that is a disastrous philosophy when it's taken to those extremes.
Do you see any significance in the Occupy movement?
I think the Occupy movement is amazing in that in 11 weeks, a relatively small number of young people have changed the discourse in the United States because Americans are talking about inequality of wealth, income, and power in the last few weeks more than they have for the last 30 years. Even now we're seeing politicians saying, well, maybe it's not so fair, this tax system and so forth. So I've said that this can be, should be, I hope will be, the beginning of what I call the new progressive movement. We're in for a long haul. I'd like to see a true progressive president of the United States. Of course, I'd like to see Obama play that role, but I'm a little bit dispirited by that. But I'd like to see a progressive candidate run and win the White House in 2016, for example.